Open Gate Quilts came out with a Stash Buster pattern called Mosaic Tiles. And this was the preview that we got. And this is just meant for batiks, I think. It's going to look so stunning. But there's an alternate color also in this pattern. And I think that's what I'm going to go with a lot of dark fabric. So the fabric that I picked out is actually leftovers from my February challenge with Island Batik. I used the collection called Prairie Dreams. So here's some samples. I mean, I have all these left over from a puff quilt that I made. And I want to use this on the border. That's going to be gorgeous, but mainly use these tans. It's got chickens and horses. And I love, this was my favorite fabric that came in that. So this, I mean, this is so dreamy with these horses. I loved cutting into this and just being able to stare at it with like the purple and blue swirls in the background. I'm in love with it. And then my background fabric, I'm going to go with a light. So this is called Platinum. I have 6 yards of it here. I need, I think, 4 3/4, so I'll have, well, enough for this. And so a lot of these are used fabrics, and I might have to do some creative cutting, but I think it's all going to work out. So let's just get them ironed up, cut what we can until we have enough, and put it together.
That was so much cutting. The next day, my arms were ready to fall off. It was over 9 yards of fabric to cut up, but I think it was worth it. I got all my fat quarters paired together, all cut up. I got lots of little squares and rectangles ready to go, and let's just get situated. First, we're going to have our strip sets. So we have 2 fat quarter colors per background color. So we have a background strip and a colored strip, and we just stitch all the way down the line, and then we press that towards the colored fabric. We do that with both fat quarter strip sets. So here I have my golden color and then my blue color. So now that those seams are nicely pressed and flat, we pair those strip sets together. And those seams will nest when we lay them together. So it's nice and flat, and then we can go ahead and cut without fear. But make sure you have the right measurement. Check your pattern. Look at it, because it's going to look off when it's not finished sewn together, because one side will be a little bit longer. It's the exact length of that strip set. So cut carefully, just from experience. Watch yourself. But now that it's all together, and we already cut those with the pieces that we need together, we're making these 4 patches. We just sew down the side, do a little chain piecing, and chugga all the way down, and we snip them apart, and that little unit is ready to go. So here is our cute little 4 patch with those 2 colors. So here I'm showing that I can press those seams open from that point, and we get a little bonus 4 patch on the underneath side. And it's really satisfying to pop those little seams, just like 2 or 3 seams, and I love it. So then it's just nice and flat, and we can pair that with the next piece, this blue rectangle. I'm here to tell you, it matters where you put this. I might be putting it in the wrong spot right here, right now. I had to check the pattern again and come back. And yes, it had to go on the other side. And it would be easier to have your smaller piece on top and guide with the bigger piece on the bottom. So before you do 20 of these in the wrong orientation, just check on that. All right. It's not a big deal, especially if you're using batiks, because those seams can come right out and then you redo it. It's fine. You live through it. And now I have the background squares and more rectangles. So don't just go crazy and use up all your rectangles. You need some of them for this unit, and that's sewn on the side, press towards that rectangle. And then you need the rest for the little squares and rectangles. So there we go. We have our first 2 pieces to put together into one bigger block. And here's another step that's very important, where you put these. This is another thing that I did a lot of blocks in the wrong orientation. See, I already had to flip it. I was like, whoa, what am I doing here? Okay. So let's put that big piece on the bottom and put the right one on this side. So you see this W shape? That's how I was seeing it. I always looked for just that W. The background square would be in the corner, and the lesser of the two colors would be in the other corner. That's just what I kept repeating to myself, because if you mess these up, like, it's gonna look pretty bizarre. And even if you check it and get yourself all situated with it, it's still you still might mess up, and it's gonna be fine. But those seams did nest in that corner, and it's not as important because you don't have like four different colors meeting up, but it's still nice to have a nice little nested seam right there, and that is this block. So that is a big chunk of the whole thing. So once we get that all right, we're just going to be making some flying geese. So the pattern or the instruction will tell you to draw a line from corner to corner on your background squares on the wrong side and then put these right side together. I got this little laser on my machine, so I'm able to just see where that needle is going to end up in the end and just chain piece all of those squares onto my rectangle. So right at my machine, I'm pressing that square to the corner, and you can see that I now have what's called a chisel unit. So we're going to snip off that extra fabric that we don't need. Some people leave it for extra bulk. That's kind of nice, but I'm going to go ahead and follow these instructions. Snip that off, and then our square goes on the other side. So I'm kind of taking a poor approach here. I would go from the center where I want to be to that corner. Your machine might gobble up that corner if you're not safe or if you don't have the right needle plate in, but it looks like I lived through this. So we get all the way over to that corner, but this time we flip that corner underneath. So that makes our point less bulky, and when we're sewing this together with our 1/4 inch seam, that corner can go in nicely without the foot like hopping up, and then you get this crazy wonky seam and a big bulky spot, and then your quilting goes all over the place. It's just better. So we're taking that same idea, but we're applying it to this bigger square. So each of these big background squares gets these two corners on the edge because it's making the star legs, the little bursts from the star center. So if we go all the way down, we press it open. With these, the corner doesn't have to match to another seam. So I went ahead and I just opened them both open. That way I could check to see that it was meeting the corner. Phew, now that we have that all done, we have this nice piece that has nothing going on. And that is our center, and we just kind of build out the layout from here. I had to lay out each block. See, I had that turned wrong. Flying geese, the color goes out because we're going to have all these arrow background shapes towards the star. And you see my lovely display washer that I had to lay this out because it's a big block. I mean, it's significant. And then the little background squares, the W's point out. Oh, beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Every single block is gorgeous. But especially this one. Oh, oh, beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna get all these blocks lined up, laid out, put together, and then we get to start the quilting. Here is the finished quilt. It is so stunning. I describe it as enchanting. The way these colors flow together, it just looks so beautiful and fantasy oriented, just like you're in some mystical forest. That's how I'm gonna go for it. Here is, let's see, that's a 1/2 inch, because I was using my 1/4 inch foot to outline, and I did just this blocky spiral through the whole quilt. Just shy of 500,000 stitches to do this. So I was on my long arm, and I went with the inner border. This was supposed to be for the binding. I had cut it out for that, but I just enjoyed this fabric so much that I wanted to see a little more of it. And plus I had some extra of the other fabric to use as scrappy binding. And that came together just 79 by 94 is what the finished quilt became after I added that inner border. And it just, I have been working on this since March, and I just love this so much. I know this is going to be a family heirloom, just passed down for generations. This is so beautiful, and I put my whole heart into this. So I'm so grateful that I had this fabric and this collection. It just worked out so well, and I like all the colors going across. I tried a scrappy combination, and it was, I would describe it like overstimulating. I know I say that a lot, but it was just, your eye didn't have a place to really travel. And so you get 2 blocks out of 2 fat quarters. And so if you just use these half-yard fabrics that I had, that makes the 4 across, and then you just collect 5 of those and you get the same kind of layout. I think it worked out really well. So I thought about making 4 table runners. You know, I wasn't ready to commit to the quilt, and I'm so glad that I did. I was afraid of losing this block. I thought that would look weird if I didn't have all the colors joined together. But I think it's beautiful as like a half and half, and you still have the neutral box tying it all together. So okay, I'll stop talking about this. I love it so much. But other than that, go ahead and get the Open Gate Quilts subscription box, because I mean, these just little bonus patterns make these amazing quilts. Like, it is so worth the $12 add-on. I just definitely got my money's worth. Definitely. All right, you have a great day. Bye-bye.